right, well, the moment we've been waiting for, we're going to start talking about the wrestling that we've watched over the past week because we're going to get it over with. And now we've officially, after we talk about these three programs that we've seen since the last time that we recorded one of these fine episodes, we will be caught up. All in and all out and payback and refund and all these countless hours that we watched over the past couple of weeks have now we will officially be caught up when we talk about SmackDown and AEW's two offerings over the last 5 days. Is that correct, Brian Last?
We will be caught up in terms of the reviews that we do, but, during this period of time as we were recording this, someone could do something stupid, like get fired or accuse a cop of sexual assault at the airport or who knows what.
Well, and we're gonna hope for the best. So if we can just get finished with this one program before somebody else gets fired, choked out, or whatever. And Riddle, we got our eye on you. We believe you're next week's front runner. But anyway, let's talk about SmackDown on Friday night, September the 8th, because of course this was the first SmackDown telecast after the big payback, the big get back, as James Brown would say. And they started off with a payback package. And I felt again like I needed to be paid back for payback. Now, but the refund I wanted was the opening match was Charlotte and Shotzi against Bayley and Io. And they actually outdid themselves this time. They managed to go to break 1 minute after the match started. They couldn't even make it 2 this week. So that was the takeaway that I got from that match, was a departure from the normal format and going to break quicker, which obviously will help the program. What did you think of this contest?
I didn't watch it because I like Charlotte. I think Bayley's good. I think Io's great right now. Shotzi is kind of go home heat with me. There's something about Shotzi. I don't enjoy her matches at all. So I try not to watch them. But to be honest with you, it was all about, we have this much time.
Yeah.
There's this much wrestling to watch. I'm very sorry, but this was one of the matches. This is like, Daniel Garcia in 2.0 versus 3 people you've never seen before.
We'll get to the 3 people we've never seen before on the AEW review. They outdid themselves the other night, but that's the thing, is how much wrestling can people watch and retain, even if they watch all of it? If you don't have a job, a family, a pet, any commitments, and you can watch, what did we say, 27 hours of wrestling in that 1 week from the 2 companies, how much are you going to retain?
The other thing is, what are you going to get from a match? If you go based on what the promotions give you, in AEW, just about every single match on that show, you can have near falls and people kicking out of everything. WWE, the matches don't mean anything. It's all about the story. No one gives a shit what happens in any of these matches. It's all about how it's going to further whatever story is going on. I think with AEW, it's kind of similar, but they focus on that and they have a fan base for that. But that's the thing. You watch this match. Is there an angle coming out of it? That I'm going to stop and watch. But just to watch everyone do the same moves they always do and kick out of everything and the modern style for a lot of things. And again, I'm not limiting it to this women's tag match.
It's almost like wrestling these days. They're holding you in a concrete bunker room. You have nothing except the clothes you're wearing, and you're staring at a concrete wall. No TV, no radio, no book, no phone, no nothing. It's just boredom, hours of sheer boredom. And suddenly, somebody opens a door and lets you out into a fucking war zone. And there's goddamn bombs falling and people shooting at you and shit blowing up and things on fire. Oh my God, oh Jesus Christ. And you're there for like hours, and it almost becomes normal. You're like, well, fuck, they haven't got me yet. And then they put you back in the fucking room. It goes from boredom to chaos and back. Anyway, the story of SmackDown with the Bloodline was that Jimmy was there, and he's now told Paul Lee that he's still in the Bloodline. He's made his decision. He's still in. And Paul is telling him that Solo and Roman are not there tonight, but Jimmy is not in till Roman says he's in. But then Paul gets flummoxed because Jimmy's not happy, and Paul says, hey, handle AJ tonight, and I'll handle bringing the family back together. So that there ain't going to be no Roman tonight. There ain't going to be no Jay. Paul's around trying to get Jimmy to do his stooge work. And then Paul Heyman walks not even 20 feet away from where they've just had this interaction, him and Jimmy. And there's AJ Styles just standing there. He could have fucking heard the goddamn conversation where they just were. Do you see what I'm saying, Brian? It's like suddenly he's crossed a desert and he's come to this other guy. It was so obvious that. So he tells AJ, hey, you got enough problems without messing with me. And AJ snatches him up by the neck. And Jimmy comes in from off camera where approximately he was 1 minute earlier, 20 feet away, and beats up AJ. And then Paul calls Roman. The end.
Did you notice Paul's not dyeing his hair?
I noticed that. Either that or they ran out of industrial strength Sharpies.
Someone just tweeted out, I believe as we are recording, it's Paul Heyman's birthday. Any birthday greeting for him?
Happy birthday, Paul. How old is Paul now at this birthday?
I probably should have remembered that.
You should have looked that up. I want to get this exact.
He turns today 58 years old.
58 years old. Well, I'm 62 this weekend, Paul, and I got still a good bunch of my hair, and I weigh 192 pounds. And you? Anyway, so we were 30 minutes into the program at this particular point. And then we get the LA Knight entrance. And again, a big response, and he milks the chants so well, and he's got an air about him that he acts like he's somebody. He's not coming out there, dressed like a schlub with his fucking dick in his hand and his head down. Please like me. It's always been my dream to be here. He's doing the promo where it's been his dream to be there and make all the money, but he's worked at it for 20 years, and he's going to, by God, do it. And he did the promo about Miz on Raw, playing dress up and the make-believe invisible John Cena and all that stuff. He had a good promo going. And then Grayson Waller music interrupted. And I was like, oh, Jesus, this fucking guy again. And he came out in a Hugh Hefner Halloween costume and brought out Austin Theory. So now they have aligned Waller and Theory. It's like cheeseburgers and anchovies. It's like Sprite Zero and coffee. Something I love and something I despise. And I've got to watch, I guess, one to see the other, but it looks like the before and after of a bodybuilding course advertisement in the 70s wrestling magazines. And unfortunately, in this one, Brian, tell me they did the cute WWE style verbiage, which was nothing to actually listen to or take seriously. They just banter about with unfunny insults. Basically, that's the heel version of getting heat these days, right? And LA tried to step in and save it, and they called them crotch goblins. And he challenged Austin Theory for tonight, right here in a minute. And that's basically all that happened. That took 10 fucking minutes. Your thoughts?
LA Knight's super over. He's one of the guys helping hold this show up with no Roman Reigns. I have not been a fan of Grayson Waller yet. I find him fake and annoying. They see big things in him, and some fans have really started to like him.
Who is they?
Some fans like anything. The problem with Austin Theory is he needs to do something. Like, you can't think of too many Austin Theory promos that stood out. And that was one of the things John Cena even hit him over the head with in that promo leading up to WrestleMania. But since then, there hasn't really been any change. In terms of, we just talked about criticism, advice, whatever it was, from Brian Alvarez to Austin Theory. Beyond that, I think a lot of fans, there's a frustration with Austin Theory because there's a talent there and a look, and he's athletic, and he just kind of seems to stand in place. Now, a lot of that's the booking, But, LA Knight's someone managing this booking and his character's breaking through. Is there a way Austin Theory could do that so that, I don't groan when he comes out there with Grayson Waller?
Well, see, here's the thing. They can't, the WWE, the writers, the producers, whatever, they can't ruin his matches because it's still him working. I mean, maybe the finish ain't the greatest that he's told to do, or the angle that he's told to participate in, the physical part. But when he does the physical part, what he's made to do looks good because he can do that. The difference, I think, with LA Knight on the promos and Austin Theory right now is Theory is still happy that he's 20-something years old and he's got this spot and he's doing everything or trying his best to do everything he's told and trying not to do anything to piss anybody off. Whereas LA Knight, 15 years or whatever older than Theory, knew that, well, goddamn, at some point, it can't get any worse besides being fired than being Max male model Dupree. So I'm just going to fight and argue and kind of do my shit wherever I can and see what happens. And because this is my chance. So Theory can't have a breakout promo unless they really give him, instead of handing him, this is what we want you to say, okay, goddamn it, you did this, and that, and the other thing. Go out there and scorch the fucking earth for 5 minutes. Let's hear it from you.
Yeah, see,
they don't do that there.
They give him nothing to do that actually would put any heat on him.
And that's the thing. What is he? He'll beat up somebody one week, and then the next week they'll beat him up. Or he fucks somebody out of a match one week, and the next week they fuck him out of a match.
That's right, yeah.
So it's not like, that he's getting any, but that's what everybody does there. I think the difference is LA Knight knew it was about his last chance and he had the experience and he had the balls and he said, fuck it. It's now or never. I'm going to start just doing my shit. Whereas Theory is doing, I would imagine at this point, everything that they tell him to do as close as possible to doing it. And they can't fuck up his talent in the ring, but they can sure tell him to say some just bland, blasé shit that all these other fucking heels say. And they sound the same way, bland and blasé.
That was the problem with Roman Reigns when they tried to first go with him for the first few years as a single, was they were telling him what to say and it just didn't sound natural and people rejected it.
I don't think that fucking anybody told LA Knight to call them crotch goblins, which is why I liked it.
What'd you think of LA Knight's shot at Kevin Nash?
You know what? I saw after the fact somebody on Twitter said that, and it must have gone past me. I was making a note about something else. What did he say?
He said, I forget even what he was talking about, but he said the verb is, if I was an idiot, I would call it an adjective. But the verb, and he was talking about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I didn't pick up on that. Because I wondered, I heard that, and I was like, oh, okay, he's just knocking people that don't have good grammar. But let's go back to the match, LA Knight and Theory. And again, this is good shit, pal. They look the part. They wrestle. Theory is miles ahead of almost anybody else his age in the business. You can talk about Braun Breaker and a few other people, MJF. He works like he was trained in 1990 instead of 2020. And unlike Uncle Dave's little carbuncle, Brian Alvarez, that's a compliment because he gets it. He gets the wrestling business.
Do you know who trained him? I was surprised to learn this.
I do not. Or did you tell me once and now I've forgotten again?
I may have told you before you even really paid attention to who he was because he wasn't on TV, but he was trained by A.R. Fox.
Well, in that case, then he's a Bobby Eaton. He just had it anyway. Seriously. You can't tell me that the guy that I'm watching on Wednesday night trained this fucking guy. You just can't. He had it naturally. He watched Wrestling Theory and he saw it in his head. That's what I'm saying. But they had a nice match, back to LA Knight and Theory, for the time they were allowed. 6 minutes of it aired. So it was two guys being very professional, but there was no time to, put them to the test or anything. But again, yeah, and also the heels get fucked out of the heat in the commercial breaks all the time because they'll do a heat spot as a transition to the break, and when they come back, the guy's already making a comeback. So the poor heels are getting fucked in this equation. But basically, Waller went to untie the turnbuckle pad and took it off. And Theory tried to send LA into it, but LA turned him around and hit his power slam and LA elbow. And Waller distracted him, and Theory did a schoolboy for a 2 count. They went back and forth, and LA Knight hit his finish. Boom, 1, 2, 3. 6 minutes on the air. Everything was professional, but again, it's like it was easy, apparently, for LA Knight this week to beat Austin Theory. He didn't have to struggle that much, but you should. There should be more twists and turns. Something should be going on, but it doesn't have to go fucking 30 minutes for no reason like the goddamn guys across the street. There has to be a happy medium somewhere in this thing.
And again,
go ahead.
And I was going to say, and again, he's a heel, but why are you supposed to boo him? Because he never does anything really that bad. He just kind of acts a little bad.
He acts cocky. And that's it. He acts cocky and he's egotistical. He has not deprived a beloved superstar of anything major. He hasn't committed a heinous act that sidelined a up-and-coming young star that was gaining in popularity. He hasn't stolen a major championship away from a fucking beloved fee. They win and they lose and they fucking run out a lot.
Injuries. No one gets injured. There's never just like, oh my God, for no reason he injured that guy. Here's what does he have to say? I'm glad I did it. I'm not unhappy about it.
Yeah, if he dies, he dies.
None of that.
Well, but the problem is, what can you do to somebody to injure him now? They've seen every goddamn...
Well, that's true. But with Theory specifically, though, like, he's still, I don't know, it's still like he's coming out and he's the kid. And you have to get past that at some point.
Well, speaking of getting past the kid, Paul E. was in the back telling Adam Pearce that AJ put his hands on him, and obviously there needs to be repercussions, when LA Knight came in and wanted a match with The Miz. And as Pearce took that under advisement, Paul E. introduced himself, huge admirer of yours, but don't come in without knocking first again.
Well, you're not putting it over strong enough. He really sold that he was a fan. I mean, it was obviously facetious, but he was smiling and really trying to buddy up to LA Knight for a moment.
For a brief moment. Well, that was just to get the good part in before he sternly looked at him. And he said to LA Knight, he said, "Do you understand me?" And LA Knight said, "Yeah." So
it's interesting on this one show. Think of how many different things they teased as being a potential either next or down the road opponent for Roman Reigns.
Well, and they got to start now.
But it wasn't just him. But I'm saying it wasn't just LA Knight on this episode.
That's what I'm saying. They got to start now. A variety of people. They need to get some people in. And the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
There's going to be some issue with them or the Bloodline, who's the dominant, group, faction, whatever. But we're jumping ahead because the Judgment Day was in the ring without Rhea Ripley. And now we know, well, you don't know because you're an oddball, Brian, but everybody else knows what it's like to have a burger without cheese. You lose one ingredient
and worth it.
Spoil the whole dish.
Delicious and proper.
No Rhea Ripley in the Judgment Day is like a burger without cheese. That's what makes it. It's what makes it what it is. And the best part of this was the people booing over Dominic. And it's become a thing. But they're out there putting themselves over, and here comes suddenly the Brawling Brutes music. And it even then we got the discount Brawling Brutes because it was only Butch and Ridge, not even Sheamus. And they were talking, and then they started fighting. And I kind of zoned out because they got into the match. And do they ever book matches for these programs, or do they just have people come out and talk until somebody comes out and interrupts them and wants to fight?
Yeah, that's kind of it. And again, with the Judgment Day,
Judgment Day?
The Judgment Day in their promo, they were teasing stuff with the Bloodline. They were talking about the Bloodline, how they are more successful than the Bloodline.
Yeah.
And I thought Priest was clearly featured as the top guy here. And maybe that's the one benefit of Rhea not being there one time. Priest gets to stand out a little bit more. And Dominic's great. Dominic's you want to talk about a heel that they do put heat on? Dominic is fucking great.
Yes. And because he's a slimy little weasel and wise ass in his own way, and people love to boo, and he can get beat all day long, and it just puts more heat on him because he's supposed to be a fucking invalid, impotent fucking prick.
You were like that too, right? Like you wouldn't lose your heat even when things that traditionally would cost you all your heat happened to you.
Yes. Well, they could always like rip my clothes off. They could put me in a cage. They could hang me over the ring. They could embarrass me. They could run my face in a cake. Watts started it. Dusty kept up with it. They never hurt me except when I hurt myself. When I blew my knee from the scaffold, they talked about that. But I was never injured by anybody. I was never bloodied by anybody until I switched babyface. Because they felt like if I'm a big-mouthed, wise-ass, chicken shit, coward, weasel, mama's boy, whatever, humiliate him, embarrass him, you can beat him up and body slam him, but if he's laying there in a pool of blood or he goes to the fucking hospital because we broke his leg, that's gone too far. Then we're making him tough because he comes back. So if you notice, I was always beaten up or beaten in wrestling matches. I was never injured in a planned angle by a baby face.
And even the scaffold, you were off.
The scaffold was the odd duck in that equation because it was true and we couldn't kayfabe it. And then the only other time I hurt myself I booked myself to be hurt was by Bullet Bob as revenge for me doing it to him first. And they had to pay to see it. So that was the thing. A heel like that, you can always humiliate him. You can beat him. You can do different things like that, but don't just kill him. Don't hospitalize him. That's when you take heat off of him because then they start to get a little sympathy, maybe. Anyway, so the point is, in this program that apparently just is allowed to unfold depending on the whims of the wrestlers that are participating instead of having any structure to what's going on, they made that match, and Priest and Finn fought I wrote Butch and Luke, God damn it, Butch and Ridge, and the Judgment Day won. And then here came Lashley and the Private Profits, and boy, they dress nice. And they got in the ring, and they had a 3-on-3 face-off with the Judgment Day and the Lashley and the Profits. And Lashley said, the bloodline is crumbling, but Judgment Day's not going to take over. We will. And that was that. So now here's the thing. If they're doing the thing where Finn and Priest were having problems and JD McDonough's going to come in between them, that's fine. If apparently maybe they want to break Priest out and make him a single after this or whatever. But then why would they be starting not only a group to potentially compete with the Bloodline? If the Judgment Day is going to be competing with the Bloodline, they should not be doing an internal, and we all don't get along angle, because that's what the Bloodline just did. But now we've got Lashley and the Profits, and are they baby faces or heels? And they're wanting to take over. So is Shitstain doing this faction warfare again?
Or Tony Khan. This is very reminiscent when AEW, all of a sudden everything was a trios feud. Everyone was in a faction and it was 3 people. We have, I guess the Bloodline now would be Jimmy, Solo, and Roman.
Except Jimmy's not official, I don't think, right now.
Well, we'll see what happens. AJ has his 2 people, as we would later find out. And a girl.
Well, but there's trouble between them.
Well, we will see what happens. There's Lashley and the Street Profits. They've clearly distinguished themselves as men who like to hang out and wear nice clothes. There's the Judgment Day. Again, no teasing at all of any issues. You know, Finn and Damian were pretty cool in there, and everyone was having a good time getting booed. So they seem to be okay. Everything's like a 3-person. We're gonna get some kind of match. Just watch.
Well,
I will say though, I'm a little intrigued by where they're gonna go and what they're gonna do, if anything. I mean, they could blow it quickly with Lashley and the Street Profits.
I don't think that all booking should be simplistic and, the level of a child, but I also don't know that you need to do one of those fucking diagrams on a wall with strings and fucking push pins to be able to figure out who's mad at each other. Just a thought. But here's another thought. Did you know that the start of the Judgment Day promo until the end of the 3-on-3 face-off after the match, where it was basically Judgment Day and Brutes and these guys, 26 minutes of the show. They got their time to go out and get their exposure, but by that point, Brian, I got to be honest with you, unless you really have a problem sleeping, you were pretty tired at this point from watching SmackDown.
Oh, yeah.
Now, there are people with insomnia that could have made it through this whole thing without zoning out. But most people would be asleep by now. So we've identified the bar, the level there. If you made it through this segment of SmackDown or these segments of SmackDown and you weren't sleepy by the time you finished watching it, you may need our friends at CB Distillery.
That's right.
How right is it?
It's so right
that it can't be wrong.
That it can't be wrong.
Because I'll tell you what, that's what all the customers are saying over at CBDistillery.com. They're saying, if taking your products are right, I don't want to be wrong. Or are they saying, if taking your products are wrong, I don't want to be right? I'll tell you what is right. 90% of customers report better sleep with CBD. And 81% say that CBD helps calm them from stress and anxiety. 80% report less pain after exercise or physical activity, and 1% find that they can will themselves into another dimension. You can enjoy better focus and concentration with their full range of carefully formulated CBD and other plant-based solutions over there at CBDistillery.com. When you use the promo code JCE for this program, Jim Cornette Experience, JCE, see what they did there. And Brian, you can't go wrong with a product recommended by Mayo Clinic trained internist and preventive health specialist, Dr. Kevin Fry, Glenn Fry's older brother.
No relation to Glenn Fry whatsoever.
I heard that when Glenn made himself a hippie and went out to the Rainbow Room or wherever in goddamn on a Sunset Strip, that meanwhile Dr. Kevin was going to all the fine medical schools around the country, learning to help people get involved in CBD. One had a peaceful, easy feeling, and the other one wanted to give you a peaceful, easy feeling. There are over 2 million satisfied customers of CBDistillery.com. Were you aware of that, Brian?
Yes.
Did you know that their products are packed with whole-body healing plant compounds and vital nutrients that you'll need to take with you to that other dimension that you'll be able to will yourself into after you get on this stuff real regular? And I'll tell you what.
I don't know about that, but there are parts of that yes, and there are other parts.
You might not even notice it because everything else will look exactly the same, and all the people that you know here will be there. It's just the sky is either purple or green. Depends on the weather over there.
I don't think that's how it works. And I will say I did use some of CB Distillery's fine products on my knee recently as I've been recovering from my knee injury.
Yes, where you were taken down and mugged at gunpoint and suffered that severe injury.
I didn't go to Suffolk County. What are you talking about?
Actually, no, you fell down in your own home and you hurt yourself, and now you're expecting the people at CBDistillery.com to make you feel better. I think that's very selfish. There's a bunch of people out there that have injuries and problems sleeping and problems with stress and anxiety and concentration and focus that are not even their fault, and here you're just clumsy. and you're using up all the CBD. Well, they got more, folks. At cbdistillery.com. You fell down in your own home and you injured yourself.
My knee. It was my knee went out. I didn't do anything clumsy. I didn't trip on something. I'm not Dick Van Dyke.
Which knee was it? Your left knee, your right knee, or your wee knee? Folks, if you're frustrated with a health concern that's not getting better, try CBD from the source that I trust, you trust, and we all God's children trust them. And that's cbdistillery.com. And right now, we can get you on the right path down the straight and narrow, taking the express highway to good health with a 20% discount. Just visit cbdistillery.com and enter the code I told you before, JCE, 20% discount, no prescription required. So you don't even have to forge stuff for this place. They'll just hand it to you and you can walk out the door. Figuratively, literally, virtually. There is no door on the website, but there is a portal that you can enter into the other dimension at cbdistillery.com.
Nope, no portal.
Promo code JCE, 20% off. There is a discount.
There's a discount.
Just no portal.
No portal.
Discount.
Just a discount.
cbdistillery.com, promo code JCE. So AJ Styles was in the back.
He could use some CB Distillery.
He could after what happened, because Gallows and Anderson were not there when Jimmy jumped him, and he's pissed off, and he slapped the phone out of Anderson's hand and everything. So because they were not around when Jimmy Uso jumped him, AJ says, well, if you're going to be that way, I don't want you anywhere near my match tonight when he's going to fucking jump me again. Who are the baby faces and heels here, by the way? Are we supposed to be rooting for Jimmy to get back in the bloodline or to break loose from the bloodline and join his brother back? But his brother, I'm not sure how he feels about that. But meanwhile, Gallows and Anderson look awful heelish, but AJ acts like a baby face. He's getting jumped from behind by the guy that wants to get back in the heel group, but the heel manager won't let him. So here we go. AJ versus Jimmy Uso. And they rang the bell and they got in a fight and they went 100 miles an hour for a minute. And then Jimmy rolled out and everything came to a halt. And he walked around a little while and then he got back in and just went up to AJ and just cut him off face to face with a fucking elbow. And bam, take that. So again, you used to have to do something kind of illegal to just take over on a babyface if you were a heel. And then he rolled out again, and they went to the floor, and Jimmy missed AJ with a super, not on purpose missed him. They were going out on the floor, and AJ was down on his knees or somewhere, coming at the guy, coming off the apron. And Jimmy tried to hit him with a super kick and whiffed it by about a foot. And here came Solo and Paul walking out. And right at that point, Jimmy ran AJ's head into the stairs and they went to the break. And when they came back, they had heat going on AJ. And I swear to God, the action was so slow, I saw moss growing on the north side of Styles' stomach at one point. Did you see that?
No.
So you didn't see the moss growing on the north side of AJ Styles' stomach?
I did not see that, no.
Well, finally, AJ did a dive, and he did a big move, and he got a 2 count, and the crowd was not electrified by any means, not even an 8-volt battery. And finally, Jimmy gave Solo the opening to interfere, but Solo wouldn't interfere on his behalf. And then AJ kicked Solo and posted Jimmy and did the flying forearm to Jimmy and got a 3 count. That was one of the more boring matches and finishes. It just like bing, 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 boom, done. And then Finn and Priest came out and jumped AJ and gave him to Solo, and Solo spiked him. And then everybody stared at each other. It was not breaking down in Tulsa the last 5 minutes of this contest. Your thoughts?
You know, we're talking about people that the way they're used or whatever it is don't mean that much right now. AJ Styles has a world of talent. Does it mean anything on that show?
Is it?
Do you stop if you see AJ Styles is in a match right now?
No, because I think everybody that has been there a while has been doing the same thing for a while. And everybody that's only been there for a little while has not been really given the chance to do anything that would let them stand out. So we got the least of both worlds.
Well, that was SmackDown. The least of, I guess, of Raw and SmackDown. Is SmackDown the least of the two worlds, or is Raw?
No, Raw is, because they do the same amount of shit they do on SmackDown, but it takes them an extra hour to do it. So I think Raw is still the slowest slog on the baton death march of watching wrestling over the course of the week.
All right, well, I don't know how you're going to transition from this to whatever you're transitioning
Well,
to next.
meanwhile,